effective in his inning today?
Yeah, I don't know. It was really good. He was good on Sunday. The thing we liked about Sunday when he ran out there was his first SEC outing, and you don't want anyone to freak out. It's just baseball, and he didn't, but he's facing good hitters. I don't want to butcher Lava's name, but that's, that kid's going to be a really good hitter. He starts off an inning, so he kind of got into a fix that I don't want to say he created on his own because, like I said, good hitters put the ball in play against him, but he got out of it, and we felt really good about that. But today was equally positive because he was probably the guy that was the most dynamic out of a bunch of guys that we used that did well. One hit a team that's got, inflated offensive numbers.
Just what did stand out to you about the pitching staff today? 3 walks and 1 hit. I imagine surely that makes Frank somewhat happy afterwards.
Yeah, he gets happy every now and then. But I think Xander had a chance to be caught in kind of, I just pitched on Sunday and got a guy out. He had an excuse if he wanted one, but instead he was as sharp as ever because those first 3 hitters were kind of stressing me out, to be honest with you, when we were even looking at who we were going to start. So why not go with our guy that's used to that role and most consistent? And then after that, it just kind of flowed. I think our guys were in a rhythm, and one thing that does to the offense is when you hand the ball off to the next guy and you and the guys in front of you have kind of been taking it, pouring it in the strike zone or doing a lot of positive things. I mean, everybody knows confidence is a big thing when it comes to hitting, and I can't speak for them whether they're confident or not. I'm just saying when each guy is doing his job, kind of how their pitchers were doing, to start the day, it has a multitude of things that it affects.
What happened in the bottom of the 8th on that foul ball, fair ball? What was kind of the explanation you got?
We actually, Rusty was great. He handled the game as well as it could. I mean, handled a couple situations, and we know those guys well. Scott runs a class act program, so not that anybody else doesn't, but it was just a conversation mainly about other things. The original part was, even if we wanted to replay that, ask for a replay, we can't because it's a ball in front of the umpire. It's got to be behind the umpire in that situation in order to replay it. So that was the origin of the conversation. But they got together and made sure they had everything right, that we couldn't replay it, and then maybe discussed other parts of the play. But obviously Maui thought it kicked foul and then fair, at the wrong time or whatever. But hey, that was the call on the field, and that's what's going to stand, not just in an NFL game.
No Christian Scott or Christian Moore tonight, just a day off before big series?
Yeah, I mean, the original plan was that, Reese Chapman's worked his butt off every day. He was kind of make him the guy that was going to start, but try and put as good of an offensive lineup together as possible. But, Kendro, I think, is the guy we just got to keep in the mix and kind of keep him cozy out there on the field, whether it's at second, short, third, even first base sometimes. I think he can be a valuable pinch runner for us. You saw he can swing the bat with the double there to kind of get us going when we were dying for some offense. So just to keep him active, really.
Will your starters move up a day this week?
Yeah. So I think 2 days would be drastic if something happened where, like at Missouri, we played a doubleheader, so Burns goes on Sunday, and then if he would have been asked to go on Friday, I think that could affect the college guy. But you talk to these kids, and unless they threw 120 pitches, I don't think the SEC schedule messes with them too much. I mean, we're all asked to fluctuate now throughout the year because of the TV schedule, and then, of course, Hoover. So not a Freudian slip, just been dehydrated ever since I took a Zane Denton one to the sucker here, to the jaw.
What have you seen kind of been the issue for Griffin over his past week or two as he's been struggling?
Today was pulling off for sure. Today was pulling off some pitches that he could have hit. And he's put in extra work in here, and I think really his best swing actually was the one that we talked about in here that went off the reliever's glove from A&M. It was a line drive back through the middle. And, hey, Ted Williams got all of his hits on one side of the field, or a lot of them, so you don't necessarily have to get your hits up the middle, but the one thing that is feedback, that you stayed to the ball in your direction was, taking the thing back from which it came. And that was a really good example, and that'd be the swing he would be looking to repeat when he's putting his work in here and then trust it out on the field. But that direction wasn't there today on a lot of pitches. There was a lot of pulling off, I think, that I saw even from my side. So I'm willing to bet if we looked at the center field camera or if he's in there now, that's what he'd see.
What impresses you, I guess, about what you know about this LSU team so far, and how hard is it to go down to that stadium?
Yeah, well, it's rowdy. I mean, you've got it's just in the nature. I mean, the thing that's cool about SEC towns and states, and we have our own culture here, is the first thing I talked about when I got hired is just how friendly and welcoming is, and then we know how our fans are unique. First of all, how large of a fan base it is, but down there you got a pretty cool culture, and those people are looking for a party. They're looking for a reason to tailgate, and then a reason to cheer on the team that they cheer on. I mean, there's other schools down there that have other athletic departments that are really good, but they're passionate fans. So it's just an environment. And then when you go on the road in general in our league, it's difficult. But about that team, you got the core group of guys that have been there for a while. You got to be careful about being a fan of other guys when you're competing against them. But it's cool to watch some of the guys that are in the league when they're young, and see them keep getting better and better. And they had some guys that were freshmen playing for them a couple years ago here that were already really good, and obviously they're better now. And then, there's some guys on the roster that we don't know yet because we haven't dove into the scouting report till this thing's over with Asheville. But, the guys that we recruited too that recently, or somewhat relatively recently, choose to go down there. So there'll be some familiar faces one way or another, and we'll get a little more familiar with them between now and the first pitch.
It's been a really small sample size, but this team on the road this season obviously hadn't gone the way that you'd like it to go. Has there been a common denominator there other than the fact that the games weren't won? Yeah,
I think, really the three games to look at are the Grand Canyon one. They unloaded the chamber on us with their pitchers. I haven't followed them since, but arguably they're three best guys. Their best player had a great game defensively and offensively, and they brought a record-selling crowd and a rowdy environment that was a good thing for our guys to experience. It just was early in the year where we made some, they won the game, but we made some mistakes that could have made it maybe swing our way or take the thing into extra innings. Who knows? We lose by one run. And then the Missouri thing it wasn't a one-run game. It was 2 days, not 3 days. Hopefully we got a 3-day set down in LSU, but in the case of Missouri, I point out it was 2 days because neither day was good. It just wasn't an all-around good effort by our guys. You could take any part of the game that you wanted to. So, yeah, when you go on the road, it can be more challenging. It has been a thing here for a few of the years we've been here where the guys almost look forward to it more, and we do have success. I think that's what you're pointing out. But the bottom line is you just got to go play baseball, and you need to be there every day. And you have a day where you're not mentally locked in, you're going to get exposed even if we're at home, but even more so on the road.
What's the key to kind of blocking out the outside noise going into the series? It's going to have a lot of hype around it.
I don't know, because I messed that opportunity up. I had on my notes, you got to be careful about writing notes before the series is over, but I was hoping that we won on Sunday so you could kind of, back to neutral somewhat in the SEC. I think we all know that makes sense. You want to have a winning record, but they need to. And I had that written down as a note because this team has taken on more challenges than any team than we've been here. And to be honest, we don't need sympathy, and we have talent, so we should win some games. But to be fair to these kids, they've taken on a lot of stuff that maybe they're not the ones that initiated it. And I like guys being hyped up, but I think some of our guys were inflated a little bit with maybe what some of the expectations were when you look at the entire track record. But everything about this group gets lumped in with what went on last year. And I could list like 7 categories. And then there's been other things too that we could bring up. It's just been a really long list of things. And ultimately our guys have to pick which battles they want to fight. And so they do need to turn off some of the outside noise, whether it's a Twitter battle, media, rankings, draft projections, and again, other things, or do you want to just play and play our style, which, when we played at Grand Canyon, we didn't have a style. We didn't have any sayings in the dugout or anything like that. Well, now we kind of got that going on. So they do need to turn off the outside noise, and hopefully they get some assistance from people too, or maybe some of the other stuff calms down a little bit. And they can just go play and find out if they're better than the other team on that given day or not.
Seems like you all kind of have a vibe this last week or so of being a different team. that's grown the last week and a half or so. How excited are you to put that to the test this weekend against LSU?
Yeah, I mean, now that you mention it, for sure, I think what happened was out of frustration, you can either go apart or you can get a little closer. And I don't know that it was an immediate effect because everyone was really frustrated from a few things that carried over, and then ultimately our first weekend in the SEC. But guys kind of made the decision to go in the right direction. And then even over the course of the weekend against Texas A&M, there were some obstacles or just times where we give up a lead or we're down early. And again, the guys wanted to keep forging ahead. So the main thing I'd like to see is just to keep forging ahead. I mean, you're going to get tested, again, whether it's home or here. We got tested today, but are you willing to keep forging ahead? You know, today's focus and energy to me could have been a little bit better. I don't think it was poor, but I don't think it was A+ either. But as the day went on, it's like we're in a dogfight here. Forge ahead, forge ahead. So hopefully that theme is what stays consistent.
A couple of pitchers you said we're going to get some work in earlier in the week, like Wyatt Evans. Kind of how did that go?
Yeah, Wyatt threw full distance off the mound and made some progression. We'll kind of see where that's at. One of the other guys we had is Andrew Banke, that guy's fully capable of getting outs for us now, just as a freshman. You just fight that battle, or at least we do. And do you want to lose your eligibility and look back and say this is only how many at-bats I had, or this? I mean, I stress on that stuff. I'm sure other coaches do too, but you see how some of this stuff. I think I was getting ragged a little bit by somebody for going out there a third time in the second game in a row, not trying to look like Abner Doubleday, but trying to keep guys involved. And then on Sunday we had some things we wanted to do matchup wise, but we go out of our way to get guys action. But there's only so much to go around, and then you throw in the 10-run rule. If that happens to us, or we are successful in being 10 runs ahead and someone wants to play that rule, then we lose more action. So we'll see on Banke and Wyatt and Swiss Stack on where do we want to go with the red shirt or not red shirt is what I'm getting at.